Let's dive into a really fascinating thought experiment. What if there was an afterlife created just for the greatest composers? A place where their huge, unfinished conversations could finally keep going. Welcome to the Infinite Conservatory.
You know, the whole thing kicks off with this beautiful, almost mystical idea. The thought that for certain artists, their work was just so powerful, so deeply carved into the very fabric of reality that they continue to exist. They resonate in the silence between the notes, in a space that isn't really a place at all.
And yeah, that is the whole premise of the conservatory. It's this realm where history's greatest composers, they're not exactly resting in peace. Nope, they're still arguing, still debating the very soul of music itself, and just continuing the big conversation that death so rudely interrupted.
So, just to be clear, this isn't heaven or some grand concert hall in the sky. It's better to think of it as, I don't know, a metaphysical green room, a place of pure ideas, an eternal dialogue, where all the towering egos and profound philosophies behind the music can finally clash, face to face.
Okay, so the conversation really gets started when three absolute titans of music show up. They're basically the foundation stones of this entire world, and the clash between their worldviews, well, that's going to set the stage for everything that comes next.
First up, you've got Johann Sebastian Bach. For this guy, music was theology. He saw God's divine order in the mathematical perfection of his work. To him, a fugue wasn't just beautiful music, it was a logical proof. All these different voices weaving together in a chaos so perfectly ordered that it just had to reveal a divine truth. He's the master craftsman.
And then, of course, Beethoven just storms in, loud and full of fire, just as you'd expect. And he immediately throws down the gauntlet. If Bach wrote for God, Beethoven wrote for us, for human struggle, for defiance, for our ability to triumph over suffering. His music is literally the sound of a fist raised against the thunder.
And right when the debate is getting maybe a little too serious, in floats Mozart, almost out of thin air. He is the playful genius. He finds the divine not in some rigid order or heroic struggle, but in pure, unfiltered play. He instantly lightens the mood, but in doing so, he shows us a third, absolutely crucial way of thinking about music.
And boom, there you have it. The foundational debate that's going to echo through this entire conservatory. Is music an act of worship, an expression of the human spirit, or is it a form of divine play? There's no single right answer, of course, and that's kind of the whole point.
But, just as this trio is getting delved into their endless debate, the doors are thrown wide open, and the new arrivals are, they're complicated. They're the disruptors, and they're about to challenge every single assumption that's just been made.
In walks Richard Wagner, and his ego is so immense it feels like it has its own gravitational pull. He immediately goes right up to Beethoven, basically positioning himself as the true successor, the one who took the seed of the Ninth Symphony and grew it into the ultimate, total artwork.
Wagner's arrival forces a deeply uncomfortable question on everyone. I mean, his musical genius is absolutely undeniable, but his personal writings and his anti-Semitism are just monstrous. So suddenly the conservatory has to deal with this. Can you, or maybe should you, separate staggering genius from profound moral failure? Next up, Igor Stravinsky, the 20th century revolutionary, shows up. He represents a total break from everything that came before. See, where a composer like Tchaikovsky saw music as pure, heartfelt emotion, like nostalgia you could hear, Stravinsky saw it as cold, hard architecture. For him, sentimentality was a weakness, comfort was death, and as he even admits, his famous coldness was itself a kind of wound.
Okay, but this is where the story takes a truly stunning turn, because the conservatory isn't just a place for debate, it's a place where creation can actually continue. These composers, they can still write music.
I mean, this brings up a really mind-bending question, right? What kind of music would a composer write after death, with the full knowledge of everything that came after them? Well, Franz Schubert, who died when he was only 31, is about to show everyone.
So he composes a new song. It's called The Still, The Silence. Just picture this. The piano starts, high, delicate, repeating notes, kind of like distant bells. Then a single voice enters, just floating above it all, following the rhythm of its own breath. And then, at the climax, the music just stops. A full measure of absolute, intentional silence. So, what does it mean? Well, as Schubert himself explains it, the song ends on a question, and the silence is the answer. But it's not an answer that gives you a conclusion. It's an answer that just opens out into infinity.
And that right there, that illustrates the core truth of the conservatory. In this place, death isn't the final curtain. It's just a new stage, with a totally different set of rules, where the limits of a single lifetime are gone, and creation can truly begin all over again.
So as we start to pull back, we can really begin to see the bigger picture. This whole story, it isn't about finding some final answer. It's about the beauty, and really the necessity of the eternal conversation itself. I mean, think of all the voices that are in this room now. You've got Bach's divine craft, Beethoven's human passion, and Mozart's joyful play. And they're joined by Wagner's monumental ego, Stravinsky's cold revolution, and now Schubert's impossible new creation from beyond the grave. Every single one adds a new, vital layer of complexity.
In the end, the story gives us the perfect musical metaphor for itself. The conservatory isn't a symphony, driving toward one single triumphant final chord. No, it's a fugue. A whole series of independent voices weaving in and out, creating harmony and tension, but never, ever resolving into one simple truth.
And that just leaves us with a final, lingering thought. This conversation is infinite. It's still happening, right now. So the real question isn't how it ends, but who's arriving next? Who just walked through that door to challenge everything we think we know?